Hi there, TF Gang, long time viewer slash listener, first time question answer. I'm very interested to see what Microsoft is planning. Innovation is good, and I'm very in favor of more open platforms, but I also can't help but wonder whether partially bridging the gap between PC and console is achievable and desirable if you lose the affordability, including subsidized hardware, and predictability of console hardware, but lose the sheer versatility of PC hardware. Are you left in a no man's land, more expensive hardware than traditional console, but without all the benefits of PC? At least the Steam Deck has portability as a selling point, and presumably the much rumoured Xbox handheld will too. At a certain point and price, would you not just be better getting a PC? So my question is, what do you think a more PC-like console approach looks like? And do you think it's likely to require a significant price hike to get there? Alex?
Wow. Okay. So I think I'm going to off quote John, and I'm going to say that I think the more PC like console approach is very similar to the Steam Deck approach in terms of just user front end. At least that aspect of it has to be the solved thing. It's something that Oliver talked about like last week about his like, like you connect your stuff to your television, your PC, and you have like a variety of things to deal with that. But like the Steam OS specifically is very good at that. And I think Microsoft has the ability to manage that in a Windows environment or whatever this OS would be in a theoretical console. I think that is like the bridge and the approach there. The question about price and performance and like losing the abilities of one versus the other, I don't think they're going to. I think that like, I don't know. This is actually a super hard question because I think there's like a limit to like the amount of people who can play console games. Just like there's like a limit to amount of people who can play PC games. Like people have different expectations of user interface and ease of use. So they're not going to get everyone with this, but I think they're trying to get more than they could have gotten with a traditional model for them. And so in that case, I think they can go a little bit more wild as a result, and they can have like caveats as a part of this experience. I don't really know what the end product will look like. Price performance, though, my goodness. It'll probably be, I think we talked about this before, maybe a little bit more expensive, but maybe tiered models. I don't know. What do you think?
Oliver, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you need to compromise between those factors. And I think, yeah, John's right on the money. When you look at a device like the Steam Deck, that is a really compelling compromise point, and it does work very, very well, very appealing to a lot of people. But I also think that out of the box, it should offer an experience, hopefully, that is pretty similar to an Xbox right now, where you can just set it up, link your Microsoft account, and be pretty much playing games within 20, 30 minutes easily. After you download all the updates, it should have a bit of a plug and play experience to it. I think that's very important. Now, for the power user, maybe there's more customizability. Maybe the games are, you can change the settings, things like this. You can change frame rate targets, FPS caps, whatever. But for the user who's just getting that device out of the box, there should be a good default graphics configuration, and it should be fairly seamless. That would be my hope. But I do think there could be some odd overlap between the PCs and consoles, like the user, like this questioner says, especially as Windows perhaps becomes more optimized for gaming, and as Xbox becomes more of an open platform potentially. But I also think that if Microsoft is in the position where they have a very popular set of games that are running across two major gaming platforms, potentially three major gaming platforms with PlayStation in the mix, I don't really know how much they care about the relative composition of those platforms as long as they're getting money. So that'd be my thought with that.
Interesting. I can kind of see where the question is coming from here, Mackie D. Yeah. How do we begin to peel this one? Yes, I mean, basically, I think the concept, as Alex has pointed out, of a console PC hybrid has been proven out with Steam Deck. What's missing there, which I think Valve really wants to see, but doesn't often happen, is the concept that developers actually have optimized settings that are the defaults. And, basically that is the tailored experience that you would have on a standard console, right? Which would be effectively optimized settings for that specific class of hardware. But I do think that if you're going to go all in, like, I suspect Microsoft are doing, maybe just have that advanced graphics menu where, hardcore users can just tap into the PC options. They will be there anyway, right? And maybe it's down to the developer to the end user to have some say in the way the game is going to play, and they can always move back to the developer approved setup if they want to. In terms of the cost of the hardware, now this is really interesting, right? Because Phil Spencer's argument is basically, well, look, we've thrown money at the problem, we've subsidized hardware, we've made continually better boxes gen on gen, but the issue is that it's not expanding the audience. So, what else can be done? And maybe one potential solution there is to basically have a tiered system of, certain components and, maybe a range of optimized settings that works to that particular spec. And we have that in, right now with Series S and X effectively, where, it is fundamentally the same code, but with what are effectively different graphics settings. Maybe that is the route forward. One thing that I am kind of curious about, it might be the case that Microsoft produces an SoC, a console SoC, that goes out, to people that want to produce their own Xboxes. But equally, we're really looking forward into the future here, but we might well be ending up with a scenario where we go back to dedicated CPU and GPUs because, the smaller chips may end up more sort of financially viable to make than larger monolithic chips. And, you're kind of seeing that with what AMD is doing in terms of their chiplet designs, which are now in GPUs. It may well be the case that the console goes back to a chiplet design. Interesting stuff. I'm sure that Microsoft have modeled all of this out. I do think there will probably be SoC designs for Gen 10. I'd love to see what that bigger machine is going to look like if they're going to be targeting the biggest technological leap ever in a console generation. Presumably they know something that we don't. The subsidized hardware thing, that's curious. I just think that, if you can tap into the PC space, we're at the scenario now where there are certain parts out there that are outperforming consoles, like GPUs, for example, definitely CPUs, which are very cost efficient. If you're looking at like a $100 Core i3, it might only have 4 cores and 8 threads, but it is a more performant part than the 8 cores within an Xbox Series X. So I think there is going to be sort of like, the further you go into what may be a given generation, the more, or rather the less expensive PC parts become that offer equivalent performance. So we've started to see now, $500 PC builds being made that are, on par with PS5 or potentially even better. And so, why not tap into the economics there of the PC space and build consoles from it? It could be done. There is a lot to be done, though, in terms of the quality of life experience. But again, I'd argue that Steam Deck has laid the foundation there. Drivers, system software updates, that's all handled in a very console-like way. And I don't see why it couldn't be done on PC. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything more to add to that. Significant price hike. I think that's coming anyway because of the nature of the progress with Moore's law. Cost per transistor isn't what it was. You're not getting those dramatic drops anymore. I think it's a given. It's going to be really interesting to see how Sony chooses to price PS5 Pro going forward. That's all I've really got to say about that one.